Keep them on me.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2-on-1 Fast Break podcast. Inspired by Bill Simmons getting Picture Me Rollin' on his podcast, we have some new theme music this week, Dan.
Yeah, but the rights to Tupac and stock music aren't exactly the same thing. But I like this hook a lot.
Yeah, I think it was very fitting for what we're trying to do here.
We are trying to get the money.
Artist name Epsilon Knot. A little known fact about you: your rapper name back in the day was Epsilon. So I thought that was a very fateful coincidence.
It is true. In high school, when every white boy wanted to be a rapper because of Eminem, I thought it would be cool to take the Greek version of Eminem and be Epsilon.
But so you went with the E for Eminem, not actually M and M, which
yes.
would not have been Epsilon. That would have been a different Greek letter.
My initials were not Marshall Mathers.
But so you got new theme music, 5-0 last week.
Huge week.
Big week for you. Crawling your way back to 500.
It's a long season.
Got a lot of picks this week. I think I did the math, and if you go undefeated again this week, you'll officially be at 500 on the season.
Yeah, but that's a lot of picks to be undefeated for.
Hey, 5-0 last week.
Keep it going.
Don't sell yourself short. And big road trip down to Carolina for you, and you got to see the Eagles come out with a big victory. No receivers dropped any balls at all. Well, one of these things didn't go right for us this week. But
yeah, it's a cool experience. I recommend it. If you're a diehard of a team, go see that team in a visitor stadium. It's just fun. It's a lot of fun. And, down south, they're really nice. They're really cool people.
Yeah, they should come up with a saying about how nice people in the southern states are.
About how hospitable they are?
Yeah, it's a good word for it, I guess. But yeah, having been down to the south a lot myself also, there's definitely truth to that. Everybody's super friendly down there and great time, great weather.
I was not threatened with a gun, not even once.
Not even once. Well, that's good. Not even in the parking lot? Nothing?
No, not even. And get this.
Were you wearing Eagles gear?
I was wearing my Eagles jersey, and they have a free tailgate. There's no catch. You go, they look at your ID, they let you in, and there's a buffet and open bar, and there's no money. They request donations, which if you're not a jerk, you give a little bit of a donation, but significantly less than the amount you eat and drink. It was incredible.
This is a Panthers sponsored?
I don't think the Panthers sponsored.
Or this was a friend of
a
friend.
This was sponsored by, I don't think it was the Panthers, but it was some organization that has a tie to the team.
Okay.
Like they care enough that they were checking IDs and stamping hands.
Sure, no one wants to get sued. So,
but it was very, very cool.
Nice. Well, wish we had that in Philadelphia, but I think giving free booze away to the Philadelphia fans would probably not end well.
Yeah, I mean, in Philadelphia they want $50 to park in the lot. So
yeah, unless you're in jet row.
Hey, it's only 35 there.
All right, but as we mentioned, 5-0 in Week 7, so we'll quickly just rehash what happened there. Start off with the Thursday night game. That was a big win for you. You had Seattle on that side giving the points. They won pretty easily, 20-3 over the 49ers. I mean, nothing really much to say there. It was pretty much went to script. Seattle defense totally shutting down Colin Kaepernick there.
And I don't even think Seattle's that good. I said this last week. This wasn't even really a bet on Seattle. It was a fade of San Fran. Anytime you have a team that's not going to give Kaepernick all the time in the world, they're not going to do anything on offense. And that's exactly what happened. I was not impressed at all by Seattle, but I didn't expect to be. I just expect San Fran to blow it, and they did.
Yeah, offensively, they just had the one big play to Lockett, which was basically, Lockett being fast. And otherwise, it was just the defense and San Fran being awful offensively. Did you see the report about Kaepernick? I think it came out today, what teammates were saying about him.
I didn't. All I saw was his response saying that he's cool with all of his teammates. I don't know what started that.
They said he comes across as too much of a loner because he always has his headphones on, which I thought was hilarious because he's a spokesman for the Bose headphones. So this is like a Bose advertisement gone wrong.
It's funny how all of these things come up when you're losing and not playing well, because I seem to recall him wearing those headphones when he was leading the team to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, or is it Beats? I forget which one. No, because Bose is Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
So yeah, the Beats
and Beats
headphones.
sponsors the NFL,
Right.
and I think he's only allowed to wear the Bose in certain situations or something.
No, it's the reverse.
Is it the other way around?
Bose is the one all the coaches wear.
Whatever, it's stupid.
Yeah, and they have their Microsoft tablets, and they always call them iPads.
Oh, Jesus.
The announcers do.
But they're not.
Yeah, so it's like Microsoft's throwing money away.
Yeah, whatever. Future Eagle Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, we'll see. But we'll move on to the next game. So Seattle covered pretty easily for you in that one. Other one wasn't quite as easy. You had the Jets. They were getting around 8.5, I think, is the line you ended up getting it at. And
I got 9.
You got 9?
When we taped it last week, it was 9. It was 7.5 by kickoff.
Yeah, it was definitely moving downwards.
It was 7 by kickoff, actually.
Yeah, so you got it at 9, and that 7 line turned out to be a very good line that Vegas adjusted it down to, because that was the final tally. It was a New England win, 30-23. So Jets, I thought, actually played really well in this one, Dan.
I agree. They outgained New England. A lot of that has to do with the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles receivers showed up for New England and dropped a bunch of passes.
Brandon LaFell
doing
his best Jordan Matthews impression.
Clearly shaking off his rust there. But the game went pretty much how I expected it to be. It did take that last-minute field goal to get the cover. I'll take it. I'll take it either way. Any way I can get it. The Jets are an impressive team. They were going to be a play this week, but just before we started taping, the line moved up from 2.5 to 3, and I don't like it at 3, so we're not taking the Jets this week. I'll settle with the money they won me last week.
All right. Moving right along, you also had the Rams, and that was another easy cover for you. They were giving points, but they won quite easily, 24-6 over the Cleveland Browns. Josh McCown got hurt. Still continued to try to play. Rams defense just way too much for him. And Todd Gurley is a beast.
That's why I bet the game. And it's why I play Todd Gurley in every daily league that I play. And that dude is awesome. That dude is... I definitely get overexcited about players. But if Todd Gurley stays healthy in his career, he is going to be a Hall of Fame running back. That dude is unbelievable. Haven't really seen anything like him in the league since Marshall Faulk came into the league.
Yeah, and he's been phenomenal. He's putting up literally historic numbers.
No, that's not fair. Tomlinson. LaDainian Tomlinson was the last guy I saw like that. I don't want to screw him over. Because, he's listening to this podcast right now.
Yeah.
I don't want him to feel hurt.
And all those San Diego State alums that are probably also listening, they would feel offended. We talked about the Jets already, so we don't have to...
We don't.
talk about
We did not need to.
His fans there. So... Yeah, Gurley, really historic numbers, his first 3 games of his career, and it sounds like hyperbole coming from you, but even major media outlets are starting to talk, is he already the best running back in the NFL right now? It's just incredible what he's doing right now. And we've known all season the Rams defense is good against Cleveland. That was just a mismatch, so everything pretty much went to script in that one. Easy cover for you and the Rams. All right, and you had one total last week, and that was the Oakland-San Diego over, and I believe you got it at 47.5. And Oakland almost covered that themselves. They won 37-29 over the Chargers. Anything you want to?
It's just one of those games. 37-29 does not, in any way, shape, or form, describe how much Oakland smacked the Chargers last week.
Yeah.
It was, I think, 31-0 or something like that.
Yeah, they really took their foot off the pedal.
I mean, I was a couple drinks deep in the tailgate by then, so I'm not sure exactly, but I know that they came out firing and they looked great. And then San Diego did their part in garbage time. I thought it was going to be a high-scoring game. It felt like it, and it was.
There you go. And finally, Week 7, you had a teaser. You had the Bucs getting teased up and the Cardinals getting teased down. So Bucs pretty much in control of that whole game, and then they ended up losing. They couldn't convert on a third and goal run play that would have iced the game for them. Ended up having to settle for a field goal. And
you can't give Kirk Cousins time.
You can't give Kirk Cousins a chance. He's the modern-day John Elway.
Yeah.
And he had his own version of the drive there, charging the Redskins down the field at the final 2 minutes. They ended up winning by 1. But with the tease, you had the Bucs getting a lot of points, so that was still an easy cover for you. A little bit of drama for you in the Monday night game. You had Arizona getting teased down. And looked like Baltimore might make a late rally. They had a chance to tie the game.
I mean, Arizona had the game in hand the whole way. And then that block punt happened. Yeah. Baltimore scored, and then they got the ball back. And then finally, they realized that they're the Ravens, and the Cardinals were the Cardinals, and all was right in the universe in the end.
Yeah, Joe Flacco intercepted in the end zone. About 15 seconds left in that game. They're down 8. They lost 26-18. So 5-0 week for you, Dan.
I'll take it any week.
I think anyone would take that. I don't care. I don't care who you are. That's just a fine week for you. All right, so we'll jump into Week 8 action, and as I mentioned earlier, big slate of games that you like here. So we'll jump right into it. Start with the Chicago-Minnesota game. You have 2 plays on this game. One of them a 2-unit play, so we'll start with that one. You like Chicago -1 for 2 units, and then you also like the over, which is 43. So it seems like you have some really strong opinions on this game. Dan, why don't you tell us about them?
I really like this game. This is like Minnesota's feeling real good about themselves. They seem to have a stud wide receiver now. Bridgewater's playing great. Now they're going to go into Chicago, and the public's all over them here. But I love the Bears. I love the Bears to win this game. This is a 2-unit play. I usually do 1 or 2 of those a year. They're going to score a lot, and they're going to win this game. This has like a 34-27 written all over it. Alshon Jeffrey's back, and the Bears really have not played that bad, especially not
when Cutler's been in there.
when Cutler's been. Oh yeah, the Jimmy Clausen game.
That was bad.
Yeah, even though they still covered the spread, I believe.
No,
Like,
they didn't.
Against the Seahawks were like 19-point favorites. I don't think they won. I don't think they scored enough to win it or to cover.
No, they weren't that high favorites.
It was ridiculous.
They were like 13.
Either way, they're not a terrible team.
I think you had. I think what happened. Why you're thinking they didn't cover is because you had the Seattle team total over
maybe
in that one, and they didn't cover that.
They did not. You're right.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
But anyway, I just really like them. This is a complete sharp against the public play, and I think it's going to be a little bit of a shootout because Minnesota's going to get there as Peterson's going to be able to tear up the defense. Diggs will probably catch another touchdown because he seems to do that every week. But I just think that, I don't know, sometimes you could just see a game coming from a mile away, and I see a Chicago Bears win.
Yeah, it's certainly the contrarian play going against the public. You would think the common theme and the buzz around the Bears all season long has been that they're done.
But they're terrible.
They're terrible. Even though they haven't really played. They played some good teams tough and kept some of those games close. They're not one of the worst 5 or I would say they're in the bottom tier of the NFL. They're just a below average team, and they're coming off a bye. Minnesota on the road again. I'm with you. I like the Chicago angle. As far as the over, I'm not as convinced. I do think the Minnesota defense is tremendous, and I think if Chicago wins, it's going to be because Minnesota's offense maybe isn't as good as people might think.
Well, if you think that, then you'd like the under.
That's what I'm proposing here.
It's what you know. What I actually listened to a podcast the other day between a couple other people who like to bet on sports a lot, and one guy says when 2 good defenses go against each other, he loves to take the over because it just seems to always work out that way.
I wouldn't call Chicago's defense good though.
They're not good. They played all right.
They played okay. I definitely wouldn't call them good though. But okay, so 2D. What was the reasoning behind that?
Well, you're always getting a little bit of value in the line.
Sure.
Because when it's 2 perceived good defenses, you probably get a point or 2 lower than what it should be. And the coaches know going into the game that the other team's defense is really good, so they might tweak the playbook a little bit and think outside the box and do stuff like that.
Start using some of those good plays.
Like the triple reverse, Eiffel Tower, Spider 2Y banana.
Yeah. All those. Annexation of Puerto Rico.
I don't know. I looked at the game. I see it now. I see like a 32, 34, 27 Bear, like between 32 and 34 for the Bears, and between 24 and 27 for the Vikings.
All right. So that's 2 of your plays for Week 8. Chicago -1. That's a 2-unit play, and the Bears and Vikings over on the total for that game at 43. All right, moving on to our next one. You got an angle on the London game. Detroit and Kansas City have, I believe, already arrived in England, and Detroit is getting +4. They got Jim Bob Cooter calling the shots.
That's
now.
why I'm betting this game. You gotta trust in Cooter. I trust.
Yeah, and I I've never known Jim Bob to fail me. He's never done me wrong.
You know what's hilarious is Jim Bob Cooter was the backup quarterback at Tennessee when Matt Stafford was a freshman quarterback at Georgia.
That's why they got such a good relationship.
Yeah.
It's probably that SEC connection.
No, but this dude's legit. Like, Peyton Manning didn't want him to leave Denver. He's a really, really good offensive mind. And I think that he's finally going to do what everyone's been saying they should be doing forever, which is throw the ball to Calvin Johnson, throw the ball to Golden Tate, and let the playmakers make plays. And I don't see anything about Kansas City that's appealing to me. That team's just a mess.
Yeah, that's the side for me that causes me to agree with you. It's not any great faith in Detroit. It's just that Kansas City, they won last week. That was, at home in Arrowhead. That was really a good spot for them. But yeah, they're not a good team, and they haven't looked good all season. They're down to, they lost Jamal Charles. I just don't think they should be giving 4 points to anyone in what's essentially a neutral site. So I agree with you. I like the Detroit +4 here. All right, and moving right along, we have a teaser that you like this week. Atlanta getting teased down to -1. They're at home against the Buccaneers. And those Rams that we talked about earlier, you like them again this week, teasing them down to -2, also at home against the Niners. So I think we kind of covered why you like the Rams and why you hate the Niners in our Week 7 recap. So probably don't need to talk too much about that one. And then why don't you talk a little bit about the Falcons
think about what
game.
what Aaron Donald's going to do to Colin Kaepernick. It's scary.
It's going to rip those headphones right off.
Yeah. I expect at least one defensive touchdown there. Okay, but go on.
So just, why don't we talk a little bit more about the Falcons-Buccaneers game.
Falcons are home.
Falcons are home coming off a bye.
Home coming off a bye against the team that just lost a tough one on the road. And, I mean, it's great that Mike Evans is finally playing.
I'm sorry, they're not coming off a bye. They
had that really ugly game against Tennessee.
That's basically like they're on a bye.
They played like they were on a bye,
Yeah.
That's for sure. But at least they're back home now. Like I said, this game could get ugly. Atlanta's not a pretty team. Despite the fact that they have the top scoring fantasy running back and they have Julio Jones, they're not nearly as dominant and as explosive as we expect them to be. But I still think we can count on them to win against Tampa Bay at home. And I think they do. And I still think it's a Dan Quinn defense against a rookie quarterback. Yeah, that's all. Again, we talked about this last week. It's hard to talk about a teased game.
It's hard to go against a teased side.
It's like when you're talking about why you like a teased side, of course you're going to like it because it's 6 points
Right.
off of the total.
Yeah, I think but I think an angle with that is that Atlanta did look really sluggish against the Titans last week. Maybe, this is kind of a bounce back from that. And
Exactly, and they're back home.
Back home. Tampa Bay's not good. They haven't been awful. They've kept a lot of games close this season, but they're certainly not a good team. It's not a game Atlanta should lose at home. And then we've discussed the Rams and the Niners, and I think last week was kind of a throw in the towel game.
This is what's known as a square teaser, huge square teaser. But my square teaser won last week.
Yeah, and everything won for you last week.
Yeah,
so keep going with your instincts, I guess. Ride this out. All right, and the next game you like is Cleveland +6. They're at home against Arizona. So you went with Arizona last week, and you went against Cleveland last week, but you're flipping the script here.
I am. Cleveland's at home. Arizona, it's not a full-on West Coast, East Coast trip, but it is going over 2 time zones to play a 1 o'clock game. And Arizona has this perception of being a great team.
Is it? Oh, it's 1 time.
2 time zones.
Is Arizona in the West?
Yeah, I think so. We can look this up later.
Yeah.
But either way, it's not a comfortable trip for them.
No.
They have this perception of being a really, really good team, which in many aspects of the game they are. However, they lost to the Rams at home. They lost to Levi Jones. Was that his name? The Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, Landry Jones.
Yeah.
Levi Jones is the dude that knocked up Bristol Palin. That's why I got that name from.
Okay.
They lost to Landry Jones.
How's his arm?
Probably better than Landry Jones, actually.
Yeah.
However, this team is on the road, and they just have not been dominated anybody on the road. Cleveland, say what you want about them. They're the same old Browns, whatever. But that team fights, and that team plays every game. And you could tell they lost that game to the Broncos 2 weeks ago. And they lost it in overtime. It was a game they very easily could have won. And they came out last week dejected from that. You could tell that. And I saw that coming as one of the reasons I bet against them. Now, you know what? They had a week. They're over it. I think they're ready to give a really, really good performance. Outright win would not surprise me, but I think they keep it close. And I'll again go back to Arizona's inability to win big games on the road. If Landry Jones can do it, Josh McCown can do it.
Yes, that's a fairly apt comparison as far as skill level between two NFL quarterbacks there. But yeah, I will add Arizona likely to be without John Brown this week. He hasn't been practicing yet this week, so they might be down.
He played on Monday though.
Right, but he hasn't practiced since. And
he was questionable for Monday. He played, scored a touchdown. You're right. Even if he plays, he's not 100% at all.
Sure.
Which means that Joe Hayden is going to get Larry Fitzgerald. And if John Brown doesn't play and Joe Hayden gets Larry Fitzgerald, then what are they working with?
Michael Floyd.
There
you go.
There's your daily fantasy pick of the week.
I already did. Cleveland, they've been frisky. I can certainly see them with maybe a backdoor cover in this situation.
That's the thing. Either they stick with them the whole way, or they fall behind and score a garbage touchdown.
Right. Arizona's a different team on the road. It's been evident throughout the season that that's the case. So, not a strong feeling about this game, but I can certainly see the angle for this for Cleveland +6. All right. Baltimore is your next play. The Ravens are actually giving 3.5, and they're at home against San Diego. And when I first looked at this one, you just kind of write down for me what the line is, and I don't really have context of where they're playing or who they're playing against.
You assumed it was plus 3.5.
I just laughed out loud. Like, what could be going on that the Ravens are giving 3.5 points to anyone? They've been awful all season long.
The Ravens are a couple of Josh Scobie missed field goals away from being an 0-6 team right now. Yet the line is -3.5, and they're at home. Sometimes you gotta just listen.
Super fishy.
Sometimes you gotta listen to what the line is telling you here.
Yeah.
And you saw, even though if you look in the box score, it looks like San Diego lost a relatively close game last week to Oakland. They didn't. They were absolutely destroyed by Oakland. And now they are going full on west to east to play a 1 o'clock game against an East Coast opponent on the road. And
confirmed. San Diego's in the Pacific time zone.
Thank you, Sean. And it's just a bad spot for him. San Diego, I think, is about a game away from packing it in, and it's going to be this game. But they have no defense, which I think will make up for the fact that Baltimore has a pretty lackluster offense. I think Baltimore takes care of business at home.
All right. Yeah, it's just a super fishy line. So I gotta believe that there's something happening there, because the knee-jerk reaction is, who the heck is Baltimore to give 3.5 points to anyone? But yeah, just the fact that they set the line where it is, that's something you have to pay attention to and take notice of. So I certainly get the play here. All right, and got 2 more plays.
And the fact, you know what? The fact that it's 3.5. They're like, you're getting more than a field goal to bet against the Ravens?
It's begging people to take the Chargers.
Absolutely it is.
Public's going to be all over the Chargers. All right, so 2 more plays. One of those is the Fighting Matt Castles getting 6 points at home against Seattle. Dan, I got to believe this is you not liking Seattle, because Dallas... not a lot of good things coming out of Dallas. They might get Dez Bryant back this week.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to get Dez Bryant
so
back this
that's
week.
A plus. But aside from that, it hasn't been a great stretch for the Cowboys.
Well, let me tell you this. Aside from the fact that he's one of the worst human beings on the face of the planet, Greg Hardy is going to have an absolutely monster game.
Emphasis on the monster, because
he is a monster.
He is a monster in the literal sense.
Unfortunately, that doesn't come into play when handicapping a game.
No.
The Seahawks have given up the most sacks in the league, and it's so many sacks that they're on pace to, I think, set some records here. And when you think about the fact that Russell Wilson is their quarterback, and they've still given up this many sacks, how many sacks do you think they would have given up if they had a different quarterback? So he's under pressure all the time. Factor in Dallas's pass rush here. Factor in Dallas's home field. Des Bryant coming back. And the fact that the only reason Seattle beat 49ers is because their 49ers are terrible, not because Seattle's any good. I think that this line is way off. I would not be the slightest bit surprised if Dallas wins this game. I think this is going to be the wonk week. I think Dallas might win this game straight up. I think Indy might beat Carolina straight up. We'll talk about that later.
Spoiler alert, jeez.
I think Detroit might beat Kansas City. I think it's going to be a huge dog week, and I think Dallas is going to fit into that narrative.
And you didn't even mention the rejuvenation of Darren McFadden.
The rejuvenation, dude. Chris Johnson and Darren McFadden are two of the top running backs in the league right now.
I know. I think it's 2008 again, but I don't think there was ever a point where Darren McFadden was one of the best running backs in the league.
I think
he had 1 year.
And he was the guy who every year he drafted because that was going to be the year that he was good.
Yeah, in fantasy leagues. Oh, he had that great 6-game stretch last season. He's going to come back and stay healthy and do that throughout a whole 16-game campaign. But
I'm not impressed by the Seahawks, and I think the fact that the 49ers are so bad and that made the Seahawks look so good last week has given us some value here. This is another against the public play, and I love the Cowboys. Don't be surprised for an outright win.
Fair enough. So finally, as you alluded to, you have your 8th and final. Actually, let me count them up.
Well, it's 9 if you were.
No, 8th and final play.
And 9 if you count the 2-unit plays, which I'm going to count that as 2 plays.
Right.
So if I win, that's going to be 2 in my record. If I lose, that's going to be 2 in the
So I misspoke at the beginning. If you go undefeated, you'll actually be above 500.
Let's do it.
There you go. But Monday Night Football, Indy at Carolina. You like Indy getting 7. I guess you really have a feel for that Carolina home stadium now, so you feel confident about this one.
I hate the Panthers. They're not good, and one of these weeks the team is going to beat them, and I'm going to keep on betting until that happens.
I disagree. I think they are good.
They're not good.
It's just because they don't win in the conventional passing manner that is taking over the NFL, but they have a solid defense. They have an amazing running game. And Cam is
amazing. Jonathan Stewart's an amazing running game.
He had a really good week against the Eagles, who's one of the top run defenses in the league.
But that was his first really good week.
But they also have Cam Newton, who gets Cam Newton. He does Cam Newton things, and he's like a living, real life embodiment of the Juggernaut from X-Men.
I will give you this much: I have so much respect for Cam Newton. I think he's awesome. And what he's done this year with this team that I really don't like is incredible. But we're talking about a team in the Colts that just 6 weeks ago were one of the favorites to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, just behind the Patriots and maybe one or two other teams. But this team has played way beneath their potential and therefore are giving this many points. There are certain books in Vegas that put the lines out for every game, every week before the season starts. Not a lot. I think there's 1 or 2. But when they did, the Colts were 1-point favorites in this game. And now they're 7-point underdogs. I can't believe that so much has changed that the line has moved 8 points in one direction.
I think a lot has changed. I think we've learned the Colts aren't very good.
No, but I think the Colts, I don't think they're very good, but I think they're a lot better than they've played. And I don't think Andrew Luck is going to be embarrassed on prime time on Monday Night Football like this. I'm not putting this as a play here because I don't do money lines on the podcast, but I'm sprinkling a little bit on the money line too.
So last week they were at home though, and they got absolutely smoked by the Saints. And if it wasn't for garbage time touchdowns.
It was all garbage time touchdowns. My fantasy team won because of those garbage time touchdowns.
Yeah, I got a nice Dante Moncrief bite at the end there too. But I don't know. I just don't think the Colts are good at all. But
I think that's the thing.
7 is a lot.
This team
and Carolina's they're the type. It's going to trend more towards a low-scoring game because they're a defensive and running.
Well, that's fine, dude.
No, I know.
If it's a low-scoring game, I'll take the 7 points.
Exactly. So yeah, I get it. I get it from that perspective.
And here's it: Carolina does not have a dynamic offense, so I don't see any point in the game where they're going to be up by a significant amount. So a garbage time touchdown could put the Colts into the cover at the end too.
And Andrew Luck has been the king of garbage time touchdowns
Andrew,
and backdoor covers.
he sure has been.
All right, so that concludes your Week 8 slate. Just to recap, you like Chicago, Minnesota over 43. The Bears -1, which is a 2-unit play. Detroit +4. Atlanta -1. And St. Louis -2. That's a 2-team teaser. Cleveland +6. Baltimore -3.5. Dallas +6. And Indianapolis +7. Reminder, a 9-0 week, and you're over 500 for the week.
That's true.
For the season.
But I just realized that I put my first 2-unit play on the back of Jay Cutler, so I think I'm gonna have a couple more drinks right now.
There you go. All right, so enjoy the Week 8 action, everybody, and we will talk to you next week.
Good luck.
Thank you for listening to the 2-on-1 Fast Break podcast. Today's theme song comes to you from Epsilon Knot, Keep the Money, on freemusicarchive.org.